Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into a critical issue that could impact our future in space: Kessler Syndrome. You know, we humans, we love to dream big, explore new frontiers. Space, the final frontier, right? But what if I told you that our very pursuit of the cosmos could be creating a hazardous junkyard in orbit? A cosmic game of billiards where the stakes are astronomically high. Here are 7 reasons why this growing concern could devastate our space infrastructure. So picture this, a highway in space, but not just any highway. Imagine the busiest highway you've ever seen, packed with cars, bumper to bumper. Now replace those cars with satellites, thousands of them, all zooming around Earth at breakneck speeds. It's a bustling, chaotic scene up there. Instead of cars, we have satellites, thousands of them. These aren't just any satellites, they're part of massive constellations designed to provide global services. Think of them as the backbone of our modern communication systems, enabling everything from GPS navigation to high-speed internet. And the number's only going up. Every year, more and more satellites are launched into orbit, adding to the already crowded space. Companies and governments around the world are racing to deploy their own fleets, each one vying for a piece of the orbital pie. We're talking mega constellations, like SpaceX's Starlink and Amazon's Kuiper, promising global internet coverage. These projects aim to bring high-speed internet to even the most remote corners of the globe. Sounds great, right? Imagine being able to stream your favorite shows from the top of a mountain or in the middle of the ocean. Well, here's the catch. More satellites mean more chances of a fender bender. In space, a collision isn't just a minor inconvenience. It can have serious consequences, creating debris that poses a threat to other satellites and even the International Space Station. Only in space, a fender bender doesn't just dent your bumper. It creates a shrapnel cloud that can stay in orbit for centuries. This debris can travel at speeds of up to 17,500 miles per hour, turning even a small piece into a deadly projectile. Managing this traffic is a monumental task. It's like trying to direct rush hour in Times Square with a blindfold on. Space agencies and private companies are developing advanced tracking systems and collision avoidance technologies. But the challenge is immense. The stakes are high. A single collision can trigger a chain reaction, creating more debris and increasing the risk of further collisions. It's a delicate balancing act, requiring constant vigilance and coordination. As we continue to expand our presence in space, finding ways to manage this traffic will be crucial to ensuring the safety and sustainability of our orbital environment. You'd think with all our technological prowess, we'd have space traffic management down pat. I mean, we can land a rover on Mars, but we can't prevent satellites from playing bumper cars in low Earth orbit. The truth is, it's complicated. We have international guidelines, sure, but no global sheriff in space. It's like having a speed limit on the Autobahn but no one to write you a ticket. And with more players entering the space game, from nations to private companies, the need for clear rules and consequences has never been greater. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but don't satellites have a lifespan? Surely they can't stay up there forever, right? Well, that's a great question. Satellites do have a lifespan, typically ranging from a few years to a couple of decades, depending on their mission and design. But what happens when they reach the end of their operational life? They'll just burn up in the atmosphere eventually, right? Well, yes, some do. When a satellite's orbit decays, it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere and burns up due to the intense heat generated by friction. This is a controlled process for many low Earth orbit satellites, ensuring they don't pose a threat to people or property on the ground. But here's the problem. We're not always good at cleaning up after ourselves. Not all satellites are designed to re-enter the atmosphere safely. Some are left in higher orbits where they can remain for decades or even centuries. This creates a growing problem of space debris, also known as space junk. Imagine leaving your old car parked on the side of the road forever. Over time, it would rust, break down, and become an eyesore, not to mention a potential hazard. Now, imagine this scenario on a cosmic scale. That's essentially what we've been doing with some satellites and spent rocket stages. These defunct satellites and spent rocket stages are just drifting in orbit, no longer serving any useful purpose. They are like abandoned vehicles in space, cluttering up the orbital highways and posing risks to active satellites and future missions. They just stay up there, potential hazards for future missions. The risk of collision with active satellites or even the International Space Station is a serious concern. A collision could create thousands of new pieces of debris, each capable of causing further damage. we need to get better at deorbiting old hardware or pushing it further out, into what's known as a graveyard orbit. This is a region far from operational orbits where defunct satellites can be safely stored away from active missions. Otherwise, we risk turning space into a cosmic junkyard, filled with debris that could hinder our ability to explore and utilize space in the future. It's a problem that requires international cooperation and innovative solutions to ensure the sustainability of our space activities. Let's talk about those collisions for a second. We're not just talking about two satellites bumping into each other. Even a tiny piece of debris, like a fleck of paint, can cause serious damage when it's traveling at thousands of miles per hour. It's like a bullet hitting a watermelon, except the watermelon is a multi-million-dollar satellite. And here's the kicker. Each collision creates more debris, which can lead to more collisions, and so on. It's a domino effect, a chain reaction with potentially catastrophic consequences. Chapter 5. Cleaning up our cosmic mess. Okay, so we have a debris problem. What's the solution? Well, we need to get serious about active debris removal, or ADR. Think of it like cosmic garbage collection. We're talking about developing technologies to capture and deorbit large pieces of debris. Maybe even recycle them. Sounds like science fiction, right? But the good news is, there are brilliant minds working on this right now. The bad news? We're still in the early stages and time is of the essence. Chapter 6. Everything we rely on? Yeah, it's at risk. Now you might be thinking, okay, space debris, that's a bummer. But how does it affect me? Well, let me tell you, it's not just about losing a few satellites. The implications are far-reaching and can touch almost every aspect of our daily lives. Imagine waking up one day to find that your GPS isn't working. You can't get directions to your destination, and delivery services are in chaos. But it doesn't stop there. We rely on space infrastructure for everything from GPS navigation to weather forecasting. Without these satellites, predicting the weather becomes a guessing game, affecting agriculture, disaster preparedness, and even our daily plans. And it's not just about navigation and weather. Our global communication networks depend heavily on satellites. Imagine trying to make a phone call, send an email, or stream your favorite show, only to find that the network is down. Imagine a world without accurate weather reports. Farmers wouldn't know when to plant or harvest their crops, airlines couldn't plan safe flight routes, and emergency services would struggle to respond to natural disasters or global communication networks going down. Businesses would grind to a halt, financial markets would be thrown into chaos, and even our social interactions would be severely disrupted. That's what's at stake here. The very fabric of our modern society is woven with threads of space technology. If those threads break, the consequences could be catastrophic. Kessler Syndrome doesn't just threaten our future in space, it threatens our way of life here on Earth. The cascading effect of space debris collisions could render entire orbits unusable, cutting off the lifelines we depend on. So next time you use your smartphone, navigate with GPS or check the weather forecast. Remember that all these conveniences are at risk. It's a stark reminder of how interconnected our world has become and how fragile that connection truly is. Chapter 7. The Tipping Point. A Cascade of Consequences. Here's the thing about Kessler Syndrome. It's not a linear problem, it's exponential. Think of it like a runaway train. At first, it's slow, manageable. But as the debris density increases, the rate of collisions accelerates. And once we reach a certain threshold, a tipping point, it becomes almost impossible to stop. The debris generates more debris, creating a self-perpetuating cascade that could render entire orbits unusable for generations. It's a sobering thought, but one we need to confront head-on. Outro: Our space future is in our hands. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on space and science. Look, space exploration is in our DNA. It's about pushing boundaries, seeking knowledge. But it also comes with a responsibility to be good stewards of the cosmos. We need to address Kessler Syndrome with the same urgency and ingenuity that we bring to space exploration itself. Because our future among the stars depends on it. Stay curious.